What's up, guys?
Welcome to the book club.
So I'm Alexis. My close friends call me Lexi.
I'm Tiffany, the other one, of course.
um, so basically, the reason we're on a WebEx, we're both from Wisconsin. We went to the same elementary, middle, and high school. Known each other 18 plus years. We're on a WebEx because we're both originally from Wisconsin. I moved away last year, and then by the time I moved back to Wisconsin, Tiffany had moved away. So she
Yeah,
lives 1,000 miles away now.
in
Um,
Texas,
and I had
unfortunately.
originally moved to Florida, and then I moved back. Um, so that's why we're not in person, but we'll have in person content eventually.
Jump right into it.
Yeah, shoot, get her
What
done.
book are you currently reading, Alexis?
Um, I'm reading Fourth Wing right now. Um, it is the first fantasy I've read in a couple months. The last like fantasy series that I read was Akatar, A Court of Thorns and Roses. And it's like romantasy. It's not like full fantasy, so but it's more fantasy than the rest of the stuff that I usually read. Um, so far I'm really enjoying it. Um, I am on chapter 12. Um, honestly, at this point in the book, I really love. I think Xaden is how you say his name. It's Xaden.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so.
yeah, Xaden. I'm loving his character. And then the main character is Violet. I also love her. I love the inner workings of her brain. Um, I'm not loving Dane, but we'll move on.
Is he kind of like
Um,
a villain?
no, he's supposed to be one of the good guys, but I think his character just irritates me a little bit.
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
just like the way that he acts and like kind of overshadows Violet in a way.
yeah.
Um, the writing itself at first is a little confusing because I've been reading a lot of romance books, and the writing in this is definitely a lot like different than that. Because obviously there's like the world building and all that type of stuff, and it's different from the fantasy books that I usually read. I haven't read a fantasy book about dragons like ever, so it's definitely interesting. Um, but yeah, that's my current read.
I've seen a lot of stuff about that on TikTok. It's all over the book talk side of
Hmm.
things. I've heard a lot of good things, and people in their TikTok shops. I've seen a lot of Dragon Rider sweaters and
Hmm.
all that. I do have that book and I can't wait to get into it. But I have a few books lined up before that one. Um, right now, I'm currently reading Saint, and it's out of, the priest books. It goes priest, sinner, and saint. And I'm liking this book so far. It's definitely different. Well, not different. It's definitely goes along the same path along with the other ones, but it's just different because the characters are two males rather than um, female and male. But I do like it. I appreciate that it comes with a content warning on all of them because there is mention of depression, suicide, and
Hmm.
other types of things that I won't get into. Um, the author grew up Catholic. I read that in the beginning of one of the books. She's no longer practicing that, but she said that she has, a love for it. And then she said, that being said, this novel is about a Catholic priest falling in love. And there is, some spiciness to these books. And she talks about that as well. Have you read these books?
I've read the first one. So I've read Priest. I liked it. It wasn't my favorite romance book that I've read. Mine are all up over here.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think my favorite thing about the Priest book was that it was written from the male point of view, which
Yeah.
you don't get a whole lot of that in like YA romances. Most of them are
Wow.
from the female point of view.
I never thought about that. All three of these books are written from a male standpoint.
hmm
That's a good point.
Unless you get like a specifically dual POV book, which I love those. But this
Yeah.
whole book is from the male point of view, pretty much.
Yep.
Which I really like, even though
Um,
it's written by a woman, so you're not actually in a man's brain. It's nice to feel like you
well,
are sometimes.
exactly. I feel like that's how it would be. Good for her. Um, I would say a thing about these books, if you don't like to talk about the man above, I wouldn't read it. If you don't like spicy stuff, because there is quite a bit of it in these books. Um,
Yeah,
definitely don't read it. She even says there is sex, more sex, and definitely more. So yeah, there's
yeah.
that. Um, but you said that you didn't read Sinner yet, or you haven't read
Mm-mm.
Sinner.
I have
That
read the novella, so it's called Midnight Mass. So it's
how's
like a
that?
continuation of Tyler and Poppy, from the first book. It's pretty good. I think it just has like a shorter conflict in it, and then like it's just nice to get to know him a little deeper because it is a short book. It's a pretty short book.
Yeah, quick read for
Fast to
sure.
read. So it was nice to have a little continuation of their story with Midnight Mass.
Um, so the first book, he becomes a priest. Sinner, basically, his brother Sean, ends up falling in love with a woman that's in the process of becoming a nun, and that happens to be his best friend's little sister. That, like, at first, like he saw her, he didn't even recognize her, and was like, "Oh my gosh, I love you, and you're gonna be a nun." So you know how that would probably end up going. And then Saint is the other brother. His name is Aiden Bell, and he's still in love with his ex Elijah, and he is in the process of what he is a monk. So that's that. But I'm not far into it at all. I'm only on chapter 11. And there's a few things I've noticed about it. Obviously, like I said, Elijah's his ex and he's still in love with him, but he's not hiding that from like his brothers around him, other monks.
Mhm.
Everybody knows about it, like it's nothing to be ashamed of. And so that happens. And then Elijah actually comes and visits him and he tells him that he's getting married. And he, kind of goes a little bit crazy for a day, is really upset with it, but he stays pretty calm, I would say, actually, um, practicing with the other monks. Um, the character, so he's super childlike at heart. When I say childlike, I just mean he's grown, but he doesn't like to act his age, or at least he didn't before. He was chasing money, sex, all that type of stuff that
Mhm.
he obviously isn't doing now. But he becomes serious, but there is some moments where he does act like a not a kid, but not super adultish. And there is one point where his ex walked in on him, jump like those little bouncy things, like you sit on them and then you bounce and you
The
hold the
like
handle
um
balls.
it's like the workout balls with the handle.
Yeah, that.
Okay, yeah.
There's a point where like he's right now he's a monk and he's actually vacuuming a room and there's other monks around him and they wanted to have a little fun, so they convinced him to like bounce on this ball, and he did it, and of course his ex shows up at the time when he's bouncing on this ball and he's thinking, oh man, like I'm here to be because I'm an adult now and I want to do this. I'm giving my life to God, and my ex just saw me on a bouncy ball. So
A little bit
yeah,
of
there's just
embarrassing.
stuff like that. He's trying to become better. Like I said, I'm not far into the book at all.
Hmm.
Only on page 67. So those are pretty much my key points of this. Oh, another thing actually is his ex is Elijah Iverson. So in Sinner, this is that character is Elijah's younger sister, Zenny Iverson. So this is her older brother, and they fell in love, and then he
Okay.
left to become a monk. He actually left Elijah with no, like without telling him a reason why. He
Oh,
just drove off one day and became a monk. So that's what I'm noticing so far.
so I'm assuming the plot of the book is going to be you're kind of finding out why, like
Yeah, I'm
outside of
assuming so.
the the spicy stuff.
hmm And I'm
Um,
coming to a part where he's getting invited, or um, Aiden is getting invited to do this little like travel thing for the monks where he's going to be practicing. There's like different types of monks, and so he's going to practice with a different
mhm.
group. Um, so I'm not sure when he is going to be leaving, but I have a feeling Elijah might be going with him somehow.
Mhm.
We'll see how that goes.
I do like interconnected series, like books that you can read as a standalone. Like you don't have to read the rest of the books to understand what's going on. But like
Yeah,
there's characters from the other books coming in. Those are
I
like,
definitely think that's how this would be. Like, they do talk about the other characters,
hmm
but it also says it'll be like Tyler, my brother, Zenny,
hmm
my girlfriend. Like, so you don't actually have to really, like you said, read
hmm
in order.
yeah. Um, I mean, I can get into the plot of mine a little more. Um, so yeah, I'll talk about it a little more. Um, so in Fourth Wing, you have your main character Violet, and her older sister is um like a, oh my goodness, what are they called? Okay, so we have Violet, and then her older sister and her mom are both riders. So in this book, there's different quadrants. Um, you have you have the riders, you have the scribes, um, you have the healers, and you have the infantry like quadrant. Um, and they're all at this like, I don't know how to pronounce a lot of the stuff in this book. I think my so when I'm reading fantasy books, I always do this thing where like if I'm getting too lazy to like figure out how to pronounce things, I just kind of go in my head and read over it. So, um, Basquiat is like the college that they're in. So when you turn like 20, that's when you have to like go and like you choose your quadrant and all that. And the Riders quadrant, which is what Violet's mom and sister were in, is like the most dangerous quadrant. Violet, her whole life was raised to be a scribe. And then when it came time to like start choosing the quadrant, her mom forced her to pick riders. So she's not built for the riders quadrant literally at all. Um, she's not like prepared for it at all. I think she says she gets like 6 months to train. And she's very like frail and tiny in comparison to like her sister and her mom. Her mom is the general of like the army for the continent. I think, yeah. I mean, it's called Navarre, um where they're at. Her mom is like the general, so it's General Sorengale, and then she has her sister. And then obviously since she was raised to be a scribe, she's very small and frail and like not built for like being a soldier or like a rider. Um so she goes into it basically just with word of mouth from her sister of like what she should be doing, and then like 6 months worth of training from like a friend of her mom. Um and when they first go in, they have to like cross this really dangerous bridge. And her sister tells her not to like make friends, but she doesn't really listen to that very well. She like makes friends offer it. Like right away she makes some she because when you go into the riders quadrant, the first year it's like a third of the people that you go in with die like within the first year. And then there's 3 years and like another chunk dies the second year and another chunk dies the third. Like a very, very small percentage of the people that you go in with will come out. Like that's how dangerous being in this like quadrant is in this section. Makes everyone in this thinks that you just have to get through it off of like pure strength. Um and if you don't have that, then you're kind of screwed. But Violet has like a lot of like knowledge and brains, and she's using that to get through instead. And then she's getting training on the strength stuff as she's in from Dane and Rhiannon, I think is how you say her name. That's like the friend that she made. And then Dane is like a childhood friend that's a second year. And then the other character that you're hearing a lot about is Zayden. I think it's Riorson. Is how you say his last name. Um, he is part of like he's the children of this rebel group. And they all have markings on them because they were children of these rebels. And the rebels were all killed off by Violet's mom because they were rebelling against like that section of the continent. So Violet's mom killed all of them. So right off the bat, all these rebels have a target on Violet's back. Um, and everyone, her sister especially, is like, watch out for Zayden Riorson. Like he's gonna kill you as soon as he gets the chance. Um, Interestingly enough, Zayden has had many chances and has yet to take that opportunity. Alright, so in terms of what else we're gonna do with this book club channel, um, obviously we have like the books, but um, the books are gonna get a little repetitive, and there are gonna be times we're not reading for the whole week, so we're not always gonna have new stuff to talk about. So we're gonna be doing other things as well. Um,
You know, Lexi is working, and
yeah.
I stay at home mom. So currently just have my first boy, well, first child in general, but first son. So it's just me and him, and been taking care of him. So life can get a little busy, and I'm sure all of you know that. We'll still upload. It might just not always be about books, which I'm sure some of you guys will like.
Yeah. We have some friends that we're gonna ask to come on here and talk about other stuff. And then obviously, like, we'll take suggestions. Um,
Suggestions.
so I think the direction we're trying to go is more of a podcast vibe. It's not gonna be
Yeah.
full on podcast because we're not at that level yet. um,
Maybe we will never be, but
yeah.
whatever.
But that's like the vibe that we're going for. So like just talking about whatever. But yeah.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. If you did, go ahead and give our video a like and subscribe if you haven't already.
Yeah. Go follow our other social medias. We have a TikTok and an Instagram that are both linked on our YouTube, and then we'll also link it in the description.
Well, with that being said, guys, what do we
Thank
say
you for
now?
tuning in to watch the book club.
The book club.